This summer, we got a call. We didn't reach out. This person called us. Lexi, who's standing right there, who's a genius, one of our producers, gets his call from this guy who's a tenured Stanford medical school professor, and he wants to come on the show. Now, this guy has a couple patents, and so he's rich, and he's got tenure at one of the most prestigious schools in the world. So, like, he's not a flake. He comes on, and he's like, 11 years ago, the U.S. government reached out to me because I'm an expert on head injuries, on brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, as a physician, and they had all these court cases from families of U.S. servicemen, over 100, who'd been killed by UFOs. And the Department of Defense was refusing to give them death benefits or medical benefits. And I'm like, and he's like, so they're in the courts. And I was like, there are over 100 servicemen killed by UFOs? Like, what? He's like, yeah. And there are court cases about it. I'm like, why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. If you didn't guess before, we're going to talk about that Tucker Carlson podcast. He was on the Full Send podcast. Before we do that, there's some business to take care of. Normal stuff. If you're not a patron, you want to be a patron, go subscribe to the Patreon. If you want to be a channel member, you're not a channel member, go and subscribe to the channel stuff. If you want to help us out in another way, Must See Audio now has merch, so you can use the description. Go and do the description thing, and you will find the merch page. That's kind of all I've got to sell you. Not being funny, that's the first time I've seen it in big. The water bottle, sick, isn't it? That's fucking cool. I want one of those. And maybe I could get like a sweatshirt and a water bottle. Maybe they do shorts. I could get like a full gym workout gear of my own merch. What an absolute wanker I would look like. You wouldn't, because it's not your merch. I would, because of that. I could get my own phone case. I'm going to be clad in my own apparel, whatever. Anyway, go and buy some of it, because me and Ollie, got kids, haven't we? Without further ado, David and Oliver, how are you doing? Ollie's
hear him again.
Quiet again.
I'm red again.
You're red again.
Don't know why.
Looks good on you. Looks good on you.
How are you, gentlemen?
I'm grand, mate. Yeah.
Good. This show is going to be like a reaction, sort of like further analysis of your show on Friday.
Which show?
Your show.
Not a rocket.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh, do you know what? Before we get into the Tucker thing, there was something I want to quickly point out from that. I think he's been quite clever in his. I mean, although I know Dave's got some interesting stuff to say about it as well. But you guys on the show kept saying that Corbell has said it's not a rocket or a missile. He never said the word missile. He only ever said it wasn't a rocket.
Yep, that's very true.
I think that's purposeful.
So do you think? I
gotta be honest. I don't really know the difference. I would use it interchangeably, because I'm not supposed to. And you may very well be right. You may be perfectly right. to me, it's, and I would think I'm a layman at that, just like anyone, most people.
I think
use
mainly,
one over the
mainly
other.
because I think if you hear the word rocket to people in like to layman, you think of either like cartoon style, like big old nuclear rocket things, or space rockets. Whereas I think if you use the word missile, it's much more grounded in in military activities.
Maybe.
I mean,
Maybe.
I think I did say on Friday's show that
We went quiet.
I've gone quiet again.
What?
I knew, and I knew if I fingered it, it'd make you laugh. I did say on Friday's show that it might just be an unidentified missile of some kind. That's what it could be, and it's one that we have no idea what it is, what type of missile it is, because it's something that's not being used. I would like to think that if Jeremy did know that, he would say, we think it's some sort of missile that we don't know, but who knows? It's ufology, and it's all a big game.
The other thing as well, because I only had two things to add. I think Dave mentioned something quite interesting before. The air coming off the back of it. I don't think it's visual. I don't think it's like visual effects like left on the. I can't think of the proper word now for it.
Ghosting.
Yeah, I don't think it's ghosting. I think it's spoiled air. Because for someone that's like quite heavily into Formula One and gets quite techie into Formula One, to me that looked like you know sometimes when you see racing cars with the vortices that come off the rear wing where the air boils and then spoils off. That's where I think it was. I think you were seeing the displaced air behind it.
But why is it in like little, like almost like frames?
Could be anything. Could just be the way the air spoils and stalls, because that's the Formula One cars have it a lot with the with ground effect cars. They had it quite a lot last year, whereas you would get a lot of air pushed down into the car. Yeah. So you would get so much downforce that it would stall underneath the car, and that was what was causing all the bouncing. So it could be like a stalling effect because of the shape of the craft. Or missile or rocket. I don't fucking know what it is, to be perfectly honest. No idea.
I can't wait to see the footage. That's one thing.
I think
cannot wait.
Mate, speed that up. That's all you're going to get.
Yeah. I think you're probably right there.
Yeah.
Apparently, and he does say this, Jeremy says, unless I'm misinterpreting what he says it goes from left to right. So does this thing go across, then come across again?
No, they'll just go from left to right.
Yeah, that's what.
But
oh yeah, maybe I'm misinterpreting.
Yeah. I think some of the problems with Cobell, because I don't think he's a liar. I don't think he's a good enough actor to lie, to be perfectly honest. So I think he's being given information. However true that information is, who knows? But there is something very Dodie-esque about what's happening with him. See, to me, that all day long is spoiled air coming off the back of that. All day long. But I wonder whether he comes out with these things like it was under intelligent control because of what he's been told when he's been given the given this like piece of footage. Like, that's That's the only. It's the only explanation for it, because he is so adamant about he's so adamant about what he's got. Like, there's 100% commitment with him, like that.
Yeah.
That guy speaks like he's never pulled out in his life. That everything is go. And
He's a finisher.
yeah. So I can only think that he's been given that and then told something, and they said, "Look, but that's classified. You can only present this as we've given it to you."
But I mean, also
That makes sense.
Also with
I can
Jeremy,
definitely see that.
I don't think so much George now, but with Jeremy, he is a showman, and he I think he likes his whole UFO limelight, and I would, I'm like that, I'd probably like it. So good on him, But do you think, because he's very good at putting that information out and he's good with his audience, do you think that he could possibly be, and we use this term a lot in ufology, but he could be being used when it comes to this footage?
I think we're all being used.
Yes.
I think everybody right now, and this is one of the reasons why I thought what we're going to get onto in a minute fits with this episode, like 100%. Is us just doing? I mean, I think you can tell. We've said this before. I think if we wanted to increase numbers and views on this channel, if we started towing the party line when it comes to what's coming out, like UFO wise, and essentially just regurgitating the same thing that they say, when he goes on CNN, or I mean, it's made it through to Breaking Point as well. If anyone watches the YouTube news channel show Breaking Points, it's made it onto that. I think the captain, the guy, the young guy with the young guy that was balding guy that was the fighter pilot.
Mhm.
Ollie, yeah.
It's same as last night, Lee, when we were talking.
David Fravor.
No, not Fravor.
No.
The other guy, the young guy. He was on Lex Freeman.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
What's his fucking name?
Can't think of his name.
No, I can't. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure
You
everyone
do this
knows.
ultimately all the time, Lee. Last night, the exact same thing happened when you were talking to me.
Yeah, I mentioned a handsome man. Ollie's in a tizzy. But they were on Breaking Point. That was what I was going to say. He was on telling his story, and I think if you just toe the line with that stuff, I think the algorithm would be pretty kind to you.
It would. I think if we'd have done what we said, let's sit back when the drones, or when the whatever it was being shot down was being shot down, we said let's just hang fire till Friday.
Yeah,
we did speak about going every night, and then it's like, well, what we're going to say?
I think there's a really good example, and this is not me taking a shot at that channel by any stretch of the imagination. But Lou's Celebrity Review is a good example of a channel that exploded by towing the party line with UFOs, and and having the right people on and allowing the right people to talk as much as they wanted. I don't think it's a stupid move. Not a stupid move by any stretch of the imagination.
He's back as well.
Is he back doing UFO stuff?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll have to go and look at that tonight when we finish this. Dave, did you have anything to add about the UFO before we move on to Tucko?
No, and forgive me if I'm not chiming in too much. I can't tell if I'm lagging or you guys are, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, so it's probably me.
You sound good.
Thank you. I'm on holiday, as you would say. I think it's interesting that if I'm reading that right, the coldest thing being seen is the object, and it's -5 degrees Celsius. What I would like to see when they release that video, because what they say, it's 7. He's going to release 7 or 8 seconds. And how many clips is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, about like 6?
I think there's 7 in total, but I've
7,
got 4
and they said
just
it.
loaded up here.
And how long did they say the video would be?
I heard 7 seconds.
I think it'd be really cool if 5 seconds it just pauses in midair. And then, yeah.
Oh, that would be bloody lovely.
That would be lovely. Who knows, though? You know, if it's 8 seconds, there has to be more video than just this. Because you can watch it move through those frames so fast. So either it's tracking the target, or there's another viewpoint, or it's moving unbelievably slow, which would also be interesting. We just don't know until we get the video, right? You just don't know.
So, Lee, you put me to work today.
Yeah, I was. We were all ready to go with
the thumbnail.
Yeah,
we were all ready
to go. It was nice. We repurposed the Flight of the Navigator, which is great. And I was taking a shit, and I started watching clips. And Tucker Carlson has done the Full Send podcast. For those of you that don't listen to the Full Send podcast, it's a very popular podcast.
It's in the description.
Yeah, there was 10 minutes or 9 minutes, 30 seconds of Tucker talk about UFOs. And I think it's probably worthy to just run that 9 minutes. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure the boys at Full Send won't copyright strike us because the link is in the description, people. And the bigger than us. And
yeah,
you know,
leave your boys alone.
They seem like good lads. So
yeah.
I think
So yeah, I'll play this, and I think Ollie, you've got that, haven't you? You stuck it up.
I stuck that up, did I?
Yeah, it's on your thing.
It's not at the bit.
Oh, you biff! I got rid of mine.
I thought you said you got it ready.
I did, and I got rid of it because I thought you had it.
Oh no! Quick, somebody talk.
Good lordy. We were so good. We had everything so smooth. This is why the Full Send podcast shouldn't copyright strike us, because it's almost like victimizing retards.
Almost. It's kind of exactly.
Just bring the one on Twitter up.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just getting the link. It's in our chat, isn't it? I knew I should have left that up as well.
Sorry, that's my fault for showing something earlier, and I can't remember what I was even showing. Oh, I know what I was showing. That is a fine cup of tea, people.
Ugh.
Do you like tea, Dave?
I like sweet tea.
Oh, what is it with you fucking Americans putting sugar in everything?
It's awesome.
No, it's not.
It's delicioso.
When I was in America, I used to get so many strange looks for not wanting sugar in lemon tea.
It's already got lemon in it. Why do you want sugar in it?
Don't know.
Ugh.
Maybe a little bit of honey or something like that.
Nah, like 2 cups of sugar, right?
You bring the tea, I'll bring the honey.
At least you'll make it sticky.
No way.
I mean, spoilers alert. You know who he's talking about, Tucker Carlson, in this.
Unfortunately, I think my internet's getting a little extra sticky.
It was all good, ready to go today, Dave.
Yeah.
Have you got it, Lee? I need to find it.
I'm just going back through our fucking messages. I'm nearly there. I share. we message a lot, you know. We really do. Right, good. There doesn't appear to be any porn in my tabs.
Just check.
Look.
Double check
hard.
that.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't do the whole fucking thing, did I?
What thing?
Where you've got to do the audio as well, haven't you?
Oh, you got to do the audio as well. StreamYard.
This is ridiculous.
We wonder why we're not more popular.
I know.
Well, I mean, at some point, maybe we can get like a tech guy.
A young Jamie.
I have one of those.
I know you do.
Unfortunately, I can't bring him here.
What is that off? I've always wondered this. Your little logo thing, is that from Event Horizon?
No.
Is it not?
No.
It looks like the guy that stands there burning.
That's a terrifying movie, though.
Yeah, it's a great film. It's a great film.
We're all good. Got it. I just need to.
He's got it.
I fucking hate StreamYard. I hate StreamYard, and I hate being a fucking mong.
I hate my internet connection. Ollie keeps freezing. He's the only one that freezes.
It's probably because maybe the redness. Your internet don't like it.
Oh, it's because you're a ginger? Nah, it's not doing it to Lee.
Gingers have souls.
There's no proof of that.
No. I'm ginger, and I don't believe that. Right.
There we go. Let's get him on. Laughs like Dave. What? There's no audio, Lee. Lee, we've got no audio. Right, I'm just going to find the piece. Find the
Can
part.
you hear it?
No.
No, we can't hear it. We can't hear it.
I did share audio. I can hear it.
No.
I don't know. Ollie's frozen for me again, so.
I did just share audio. Sorry, people. This is turned into.
I'll get it. I'll get it up. I don't know the part that it is. I'll get it up.
Just play the 10 minutes because the whole 10 minutes is in talking about UFOs.
Okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Share screen.
How the people would respond to
We'll
that.
We'll ignore it. So my impression, I don't know this for a fact, but everyone I've ever talked to about it is like one of the reasons they're nervous is that this shows, and the Russians and Chinese feel the same way, apparently. It shows that our military does not control our airspace, which is like a basic precept of a country. Like, this is our country. We control our borders. We control our airspace and our waters, and we don't. So that's really scary. And it shows that the military is not in control. So they don't want to admit that. And the second thing they're worried about is some kind of like mass freak out where people are like, I can't believe aliens are here. But based on my limited experience, I don't think they should worry because people are so high and so caught up in Prince Harry that like, I honestly think if an alien spacecraft landed in Times Square and started issuing orders, people would be like, wow, that's a trip, man. And then like the next day, Daily Mail would be leading with Prince Harry again.
Yeah.
I do think that.
Yeah. So what's your theory on aliens based on all the research you've done? Do you think they're already on Earth?
I think that there's a huge amount of evidence in the archaeological record that these things have been around since the beginning of recorded history. The references to them, the star over Bethlehem, maybe one of them. Here's what I really think. I think I don't know. And I think that wise people understand the limits of their knowledge and of their perception. And we should all just repeat after me, admit we have no fucking idea.
Yeah, we have no idea.
We have no fucking idea. We don't know who killed Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know what these objects are. We don't know if physics is actually real. Probably not. Like, we don't know anything. We don't know what happens when we die. Like, stop pretending. We don't know where the war in Ukraine is going. Stop pretending that we're God. We're not. And we don't know a lot. And I just wish our leaders would say that. I think they're coming from under the ocean. It seems the evidence suggests that, but what do I know?
What would your encounter look like if you met an alien?
I'd be super respectful. And based on my conversation with this Stanford medical professor, I would conduct that interview at a distance because whatever is coming off these machines is very bad for the human body. Super killed people, like a bunch of people.
Yeah. Fuck.
By the way, last thing, how can something kill an active duty U.S. serviceman or several of them? And like, that's not a story. Like, what is wrong with the media?
Was there any reason as to why they died?
Yeah, they were
What was the
like
reason?
an EMP. Oh, aneurysm, they had a stroke, but their brains were fried. And the Department of Defense was screwing the families because they refused to acknowledge that they were killed by these objects, whatever they are. And that was the whole point of the story. It's like these families like, no, my son or husband is dead.
Yeah,
But I'm just like, why has New York Times written that story in 50 years? Like, I've spent my whole life in the media. My dad was in the media. Like, that is a big part of the revelation that's changed my life is the media are part of the control apparatus. Like, there's no, yeah, I know, because you're younger and smarter and you're like, yeah. But what if you're me and you spent your whole life in that world? And to look around and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wow. Not only are they part of the problem, but I spent most of my life being part of the problem, defending the Iraq War. Like, I actually did that. Can you imagine if you did that?
You're quiet, Ali.
I think that's the end of the UFO bit, Lee.
Mm-hmm. I just find first of all, I found it really interesting that he was talking about it, given who he is. But even the end there when because Tucker's got a lot of criticism. I saw people also this afternoon like sharing around a clip of him, like trashing 9/11 truthers that was saying it was an inside job. But he kind of explained away like his, I mean, what he's. I believe if I was cool, I'd refer to him as being like red pilled now when it comes to media, and the control apparatus that he was taught that he's clearly been part of for years and might still be part. Well, still is part of, if we're honest. The only question would be is he part of it right now, talking about UFOs?
I was really surprised actually from watching that interview because I only ever see him in little bits of clips on Fox News, and I'm not really interested in Fox News. I watch the UFO stuff. I'm not interested in any news. I hate news. It depresses me. But he seems like a nice guy. I have to say, seems like a really nice guy that I'd probably like to have a pint with. And when he was talking about the extraterrestrials, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, it sounds like he believes it. But also that's come from Gary Nolan.
Yeah. And
I'm not saying that that's bad that that's come from Gary Nolan. He's a clever guy. He's got he knows a lot about the human body, but it's kind of strange how he got into this because I believe he got into this through Stephen Greer, and that was through that whole serious disclosure thing. So then TTSA got their hands on him, and lo and behold, he's a big name when it comes to UFOs. So I want to know more about these people that have lost their lives because of UFOs. That is interesting, but I've been looking today for other stories or other media, not media because they're not going to report on it, are they? But other platforms reporting, and there's not a lot out there. Whether I may be putting the wrong thing in the algorithm to try and find it,
I don't think you'll find it.
Hence why I didn't want to name this show what you wanted to call
it. No. I don't mean that. I don't think you'll find it in the same ways that you won't find, anybody that's died in like Black Project.
You're not going to find it, yeah.
Or or I'm sure that when they were, like when they were testing the H bomb and like stuff like that, they were like many people would have died during the process of that happening, that people wouldn't have heard of. And even now, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there doing like Black Project aircraft, for instance, showing like testing, and all of a sudden there is an officer at the door of some lady's house with two kids there saying, "I'm sorry, there's been a terrible accident at work. Your husband licked the light switch," where he was, he was essentially part of the new Manhattan Project.
There's other ways they keep it from getting out too, and from families from talking. Various government labs that deal in like weird research and people get cancer or this or that. One of the things that's not talked about, but it's a fact, if you've ever worked at one of those labs, or you do work at one of those labs, I'm talking like various government facilities that are ran generally by general contractors, but secured by, third parties, those kind of places. There's huge slush funds of money. So like when you get cancer, you go tell them, they pay for all your medical bills, and you get a $200,000 to $500,000 settlement.
Mm.
That's not a lot of money
Yeah,
for a settlement.
yeah, they're going to pay your medical bills the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter if you've worked there 30 years or if you've worked there a year. What facility were you at? What were you doing? Okay, here's your money.
Mm-hmm.
So it does make me think of something when he was talking about the head injuries from the terrible TV show Skinwalker Ranch. I actually think it's interesting.
Oh,
Thomas Winterton got hit in the head with whatever. And then Travis Taylor got the burns on his hand. And then later on in different interviews, he talks about the various forms of health issues he had. Sounds very similar to radiation poisoning, like a directed energy weapon of some kind.
Yeah, I think the good thing about this is if someone like Tucker's already now starting to talk about these people that have lost family members, if that feels like it's opening the door up to something else, it's like another. We've been told now that there's sort of tic tacs and like UFOs that are invading airspace with impunity, for instance, that keeps getting thrown up. We've been told about like there's an existential threat from these things by people like Corbell. He said we've no evidence of it, but he said we've engaged them. He said we've shot them down. Then we've had like essentially a small UFO flap that no one saw anything of, and reportedly we shot some of these things down then like a few weeks ago, and now we're being told in another fragmented. It's like fragmented releases. It's if you follow along, it's like having to watch a TV show on 7 different channels. There seems to be, you can follow a trail of breadcrumbs throughout these different things, and it starts in the New York Post, and it went through the Joe Rogan Experience, and then it's on various episodes, like things of CNN, and then it might be on like the Lex Friedman podcast, or now this on Full Send podcast. But it just feels like there's a trail to follow and it feels like it's there for people like us.
We're there to put the pieces together.
Yeah, but and then in the same respect, I'm not sure whether it's just busy work.
I've thought about that a lot. So I was watching the Jeremy Corbell episode where they were playing different episodes, like his podcast that he does. What was it called? Weaponized.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good podcast.
It's one of my favorites now.
Yeah, it's very good.
I like
George Knapp's George Knapp. He's awesome. And they were playing video clips that George Knapp has had. One of them was when Bob Lazar did hypnotherapy to try and better remember different times at the base he worked at. And the therapist, who's a famous hypnotherapist, is like pressing him on one part of it. And Bob stops him. He's like, I don't want to talk about the spiritual ramifications of that. He's like, I can't focus on that or something to that effect. He's like, I just want to focus on the science, the physics. I understand that. I want to do that. I don't want to deal with the rest. And I thought that was curious. It's a weird, because they went through these things in detail before they put them out. They're selecting what they want out. Why would you want that out?
Mm.
There's 100 other ways to say Bob's just focused on the science.
Yeah.
You know, even like the Tucker Carlson thing where he starts dropping hints and talking about physics. That like the physics we know maybe aren't all of it, or maybe we don't understand it at all.
I found what he said about the Spire of Bethlehem interesting.
I saw that too. Yeah.
There was a glint. There was a glint there and a smile, as if it. I mean, I'm not saying he knows any. I'm not saying he knows a fact like he's been took down as the Vatican vaults and shown something. But just the way he responded to that, I believe he believes he knows something about that.
He's
I
probably
agree.
been to a lot of dinner parties and had
Mm.
conversations with a lot of interesting people. And when you've had enough conversations with a few interesting people that are all singing off the same hymn page, then maybe maybe that's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I don't know if this is going to lead to like disclosure, but I do think it's leading somewhere. Like I know we said, like I remember years ago where there was like you, me, Goofon, and maybe I think there was someone else was on your show as well, and we were waiting for that UFO report to come out. You know, like the big
Probably the other Rich that called Rich a silly man, and Rich fell out with Rich, and
oh yeah
could have been that Rich. Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah. Oddly, that wasn't Rich Goofon's fault. That one.
No, that one wasn't.
No, it wasn't. The maybe that's it. Maybe it's just fucking sack Rich's off. Make Rich's history. But just joking, people. Don't get angry at me. I forgot what I was gonna say. UFO report. We said back then, that nothing was going to come of this. Nothing came of that. Nothing will come of it in the end. And this slow drip and dribble of stuff that's come out to the point where it's. I mean, at times, like we said when we were doing that podcast a couple of weeks ago, that was kind of like doing a podcast in the middle of a sci-fi film. Although I didn't quite believe anything crazy was going to come of that. On a whole, it was just a very exciting evening to happen to be doing a live show. I do now think that something is going to come of this. What that is, and whether it's a disinformation campaign or whatever, what the end game of it is, I do believe this film's going to have an end.
But do you think this is going to be that big that it'll be worldwide news?
No.
Do you not? I do.
No, I don't, because I think I actually think this interview he just did is going to mostly get forgotten. And only nuts like us are going to talk about it.
Don't get me wrong, this will, but I think this perpetuation of content that keeps coming out, I think is going to continue to roll out and to continue to roll out into more mainstream.
Oh yeah.
Because that's the thing. Sorry, just quickly on before I get on it. Obviously, like the talk about this stuff on Joe Rogan Experience was big, but like there's a type of person that listens to Joe Rogan Experience, and I think that's like there's the people that listen to Rogan regularly tend to be, I think, fairly smart, able to like to at least listen and accept various different ideas from people on various different subjects and stuff like that, because it's such a diverse show. You know, you can't be one of those people that will be bored of something if you're going to get hit with like an astrophysicist one day and then a guy that talks nothing about but them bow hunting the day after, and then a stand-up comedian and then a musician the day after. If you're not like open to just wanting to hear people talk about very specialities, Full Send podcast is not that podcast. Full Send podcast, in my eyes, and I don't listen to it all the time. I listen to it sometimes, but that is much more of a bro show than Joe Rogan Experience. So even this being put out there on that show is it's being spread out to even more of an audience that's not regularly exposed to this stuff.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say, because this information that Tucker's talking about, that Gary Nolan gave him about the people dying from UFOs, has already been put out there. It's already been said a few times, but it's just trickled in and trickled out very quickly. But when somebody big like Tucker says it, you know, if Joe Rogan was saying it on his podcast, that's big.
Yeah. I think the thing is as well, like that, the way he was talking then about how he spent like part of his career like defending the Iraq War. I listened to the Delling pod today with James Delling-Pole, and they had Mark Stein on. He was I believe he was reasonably popular in the US, but he came over from the US to do a show on GB News. He went hard like on like the medication of which shall not be named, and what's gone on over the past 2 years. In fact, I think he was, to a certain extent, the only person on he was definitely the only person on television doing anything resembling real journalism when it came to the pandemic. And he's lost his job at GB News. He had a heart attack, oddly. I will not give you many guesses as to why he believes he had a heart attack, bearing in mind he had to travel. He's now he was essentially taken off the by Ofcom, which is the regulatory board for broadcasting standards in the United Kingdom. And he, like, when you listen to him, who is he's an intelligent man, author, real journalist, and he dips into, he's not full lizard person, but like he is fully
he dips into lizards.
Yeah,
No.
He's talking about lizard people on the flat Earth.
but like he said in his podcast, in that podcast there, he said I'm the kind of person that kind of takes people at face value. He said if somebody is running down the street screaming like Jesus is returning, he said, I'm probably going to stop and speak to that guy and try and work out why he believes the Messiah is coming back. In the same way, he said, if I listen to Klaus Schwab continually turn around and say, we are the owners of the future, I'm probably going to take his face value. He believes he is in a position to dictate the future. I've noticed this a lot with, say, him, Mark Stein, Tucker Carlson, to an extent, but I think you've just seen the beginning of it with Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Brett Weinstein. These are Tim Pool to an extent. I know he can. Tim Pool's kind of just a click machine, if we're all honest, isn't he? But you can see these are all people that have seen the holes, and they've looked behind the curtain and they've realized that the wizard isn't the wizard anymore. Like, the wizard's just a man, and there's something else at play. There's like a meta reality that exists underneath what we see as reality. And you can call it being like red pill, black pilled, whatever you want to call it. But I'm tired of seeing comments in like YouTube videos and on Twitter of if someone turns around and says all of the stuff you expect someone to say, that's let's say towing the New World Order party line, for want of better terms. I don't have one at the minute. Then everyone on Twitter goes, "Ha! I knew it. Part of the New World Order, part of the plan, part of the cabal." But then when somebody that's part of the establishment comes out and says what you want them to say. They say that they're saying things. They're not. It's not diversion. It's not it's not misinformation. They're literally telling you what the guy you watch on the YouTube channel tells you, but because they're already famous, they're a disinformation artist. We can't trust them because they're part of the system. And you go, well, then you can't fucking trust anybody. That's what being black-pilled is. That's you're just a nihilist because you won't accept that someone in a higher profile position than you that probably has more to lose than you. So Tucker Carlson and Mark Stein definitely have more to lose than I do doing this show. They have real careers that they can lose. Why don't we appreciate that? Like, why don't we take the wins? Like, we're so used to taking L's in the conspiracy community, especially over the last 3 years. Yeah, we're getting stuff right. We're still being called fucking nutcases for it. So when somebody like Tucker Carlson starts saying stuff that that kind of jives with what we're thinking, I think we need to take those W's when they come to us.
Yeah, I think you nailed that right there. When it comes to what they have to lose, it's so much more than what any little UFO, because he's the head of face of fucking Fox News.
Yeah,
he doesn't need the UFOs.
No, and what you will find, and don't get it wrong, like Fox News is just, it's going to be another shell organization, just like every other media network. Like, it's the same as GB News. GB News it's no better than the BBC, if we're perfectly honest. I mean, like I said, Mark Stein started sticking a few things out which were a bit close to the bone and lost his job. It's truth to an extent, truth to a point. And I think that's what you will find that with Tucker. If Tucker goes that far with stuff and he starts exploring this idea that maybe the system that he's part of is part of the problem and not part of the solution, he won't be on television for much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't figure out why they're doing it. I can't figure out why they'd even want to speak about it if it's got a big risk to ending an entire career or becoming a laughingstock.
Mm-hmm.
So he believes what Gary's told him. I'm somebody who has to see the evidence. I've become so skeptical over the years, and I'm not. And when it comes to whatever these things are that's doing this, do I think those are aliens doing that? It's probably not even aliens. It's probably a very true story. But I tend to think a little bit more sinister than aliens, and think whatever it was that did it to those Marines, it was us.
See, I'm going to highlight. Sorry for this, Mr. Reckless Ryan. I'm going to pick on you. Tucker seems like he goes where the money is. Lots of clicks and UFOs. That's fine. Who the fuck makes money from just going on for an interview podcast? There is absolutely no monetary benefit to Tucker Carlson for what he just said on that interview. He won't have been paid to go on that show.
No.
But this is exactly what I say. The minute somebody that's, say, part of the establishment, again, want of better words, says something that's somewhere near interesting, we just want to brush it off and go, yeah, okay. But yeah, like if a fucking idiot painter and decorator can sit here and talk for 3 hours about this stuff.
I'm going to say, just establish that you're a painter and decorator. You've not got anything against painter and decorators.
Oh, I have. They're mostly cunts. But I am also one. But but people will lap up. Will lap this stuff up, and I'm glad. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy having these conversations. But I mean, that's not. If you watch Alien Girl or Goof On or fucking Lou's Celebrity Review or Stephen Cambion, they are no more valid for what they say than Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan or something like that. Just because Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan are actually successful, it's I mean, the people I just mentioned are successful within their own window. Obviously, they run their own shows, and it's all great, and it's one of those things that's part of the diverse spectrum of media we have now. But they're not like Rogan and Tucker successful. But that just because those people happen to be successful doesn't make them invalid or make their points without merit. That's what confuses me about all this.
Where do you think it's leading then? Because you said you think it's leading somewhere. Do you think it's leading to a semi-disclosure or more of an understanding where your dad in the pub will turn around to you and say, "Lee, let's talk about those UFOs"?
I think there's three things that the three possibilities in my eyes, probably none of which will come true, and I'll probably just end up being a nothing burger. We've talked about Blue Beam a lot. I don't that whatever you're clicking, Dave, is fucking horrible.
My bad.
He's cutting his toenails.
Why do I think he's draped in a Confederate flag loading a rifle?
Because I am.
Blue Beam, we've already spoke about ad nauseum on this show. Then there's also the possibility that something's on its way. There's the powers that be know there's something on its way, and they are. How would you even fucking deal with that? Do you know what I mean? Like how would nation states go? What are we going to do here, guys? Because this is going to become very real very fast. Or my personal my personal favorite is that we're just not the biggest species on the planet. We're not the most advanced species, and there's something in the oceans.
Well, that's what Tucker believes. That something is in the oceans. So again, going, Dave, you strike me as a man that's been to a lot of dinner parties. Things get said at dinner parties.
Yeah, things do get said at dinner parties. I don't know, man. That's definitely what he thinks. He makes that pretty clear. And I thought it was interesting because he kind of gave like a smirk giggle when he was talking about, and antiquity and history and all these old megalithic places, and but I'm adding more words to what he just kind of referenced and gave that half smile, and to me that was interesting because that makes me think that this is more than just someone getting him to say it. It's a genuine interest of his.
Yeah.
And as far as clicks, I got to be honest with you boys, in the next few days, ain't nothing going to be doing with UFOs clicking. Everybody's going to be talking about banks, and banking failing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of what that clicking was. It was my nervous tick. I've been getting text messages and emails and stuff from other interesting dinner party friends. And,
I think, I just dawned on me then as well. I think there's a disappointment. Like, I think Tucker's a proper journalist, and I think old school real journalists are fucked off with how journalism has been over the last 3 years.
Yes.
And he said as much before. He said, "Oh, like dead service people should be a story. There should be
Yeah.
a story somewhere.
Should be a huge story.
We won't get into it. Perfectly healthy dead athletes should be a story, but we can't wait. We can't talk about it, and journalists refuse to talk about it. And I think that fucks off proper journalists as well. It's to me, this whole thing is that it's the same thing at the moment. Whatever's going on, there's a reason for the chaos. There's a reason the chaos is happening now.
So what's happening with these young athletes? That's the first I'm hearing of it.
I just keep sneezing. They sneeze and then fall over and then they never wake
Oh,
up again.
that's been happening for years.
Yeah.
Science. Trust the science. I like when we hand around this Ollie's face. He's like, stop it.
Look, he's even turned his microphone off.
I know. It's to be safe.
I was trying to find the bit on Tucker Carlson that we haven't played yet. I think we played at the beginning of the show, actually.
Tucker Carlson is safe and effective.
Yeah. No, I was just trying to find that. I didn't even. I heard something about marathon, something. Running a marathon and fainting. I don't know.
Happens all the time.
Sure. Well, like I've said my bit long enough before. Like, what do you guys think? Start with Ollie. What do you think it's going?
I don't think it's going to lead to disclosure.
Right. That's so. But does that? I see. I don't think it's going to lead to disclosure. But I think it's going to lead to us knowing something.
So you said it for a long time, Lee. Something's brewing. Yeah. I definitely think something's brewing. And I think I pussyfooted around long enough on Alien Addict. And with aliens, UFOs, and are they coming from Mars, all that bollocks. I think it's something very different. It's something probably very grounded here.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on? And if we get just a sniff of that, I think maybe that will cause mass panic. And that is probably why it's been covered up for years. Maybe we can't actually handle what this is because it's not an outside it's not hostile from outside, it's hostile from inside. It's already here, it's been here a long time. What is that? Demons? Is that a different species that is in hiding for some reason, or it just lives somewhere else? I don't know. I think if anything, it'll just keep going round in circles when it comes to us talking about UFOs and what this is. But I think whatever the agenda is, it will get out there and we will start seeing shit happen, but we won't be able to put our finger on what is going on. If that makes no sense, but I think there's going to be shit happening because we've seen it's like a fucking blister that is about to explode over the last 5-6 years, over the last 3 years especially. And now the whole UFO thing it's almost like they've tried to sample it a little bit to see what happened with those 4 UFOs, the Chinese one and the 3 that we still don't know what they were. They've just gave us a little bit of a tickle to see what the reaction would be. People weren't bothered. People did not care. A lot of people just did not care about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if whatever they want to do, I don't think it's going to work unless
I think it is working. Because you're right, people didn't care about it. But I bet slowly the the more people that don't care are still taking it in. They're still hearing these people. They're still, they're still listening, watching. Like when now and again you'll get somebody on like GB News or CNN or Fox talking about them. This is much more in the US than the UK. To be perfectly honest, we've kind of slipped back into the normal. None of this is going on sort of thing as far as our media goes. All our media seems to care about is the circus that is apparently politics. It's that. I think that you might as well pin your hopes on Coronation Street or probably another TV show that Americans don't know about in the UK. Because it's just a soap opera. There's no such thing as left and right. Just different things to argue about. But the more people that like come up, like listen to like a Rogan episode with a Fraber on, or listen to CNN when what's his name, Corbell comes on. Slowly over time, if you then do focus like studies on those people, or like or like go out and do a quiz, you will see the number of people that are accepting like the mainstream idea. And now we have them because that's something we never had before. I think that's worth noting. We never had a mainstream UFO theory. It was all fringe.
Yeah.
We now have a mainstream acceptable, like Overton window type theory on UFOs now.
But how does that evolve? That's the worrying thing.
It doesn't need to. It doesn't need to yet. If there's a plan for this, and the plan is a growing acceptance, I'm not convinced that this isn't to help destroy religion either. To be perfectly honest, that's something else that's crept into my head. There is something distinctly anti-church about all of this stuff. In the same way as when I look at the like Graham Hancock stuff, and you're seeing like there's so much stuff now like on TikTok about Tartaria, and the idea that we have like these turnings and these reset events. Do you not find that weird that that's all of a sudden come out since the idea of like the Great Reset has come out as well? Because I'd never heard of this whole thing of like constant like biblical apocalyptic events that keep resetting history until we started throwing the words the Great Reset round like willy-nilly. Everything we look at could be part of some sort of like psychological warfare, because I genuinely believe we are in the middle of psychological warfare.
Have you guys ever seen the movie Under the Silver Lake from 2019?
No.
Andrew Garfield movie. No?
No, and I've seen a lot of films.
You should check it out. Probably going to ruin part of it, so spoilers alert, right? A young man living at just in apartments in LA, whatever, meets this young girl on a night, and there's fireworks in the sky, and they like kind of share a moment or whatever, and she goes home to her apartment. He goes home. He goes to look for her the next day. Her apartment's totally cleaned out. It's gone. At the same time, in this little world, there's a serial killer out doing serial killer things and all this weird news. And he's just kind of looking for her and going down this rabbit hole. And this rabbit hole leads him down crazy places. There was a billionaire who got in a car wreck, and she was allegedly one of the bodies in the car wreck, one of 3 girls. And he's like, that didn't make sense because I saw her that night. So he keeps looking down, and it leads him to a couple interesting scenes. One of the more interesting, I would actually pull up the scenes and show, but I don't have that much bandwidth. So he meets this old guy, and he's like sitting behind the music, and he's playing it. And the Andrew Garfield character loves music. He loves Nirvana. He sees Kurt Cobain's guitar, and the guy, they're like going back and forth. It turns out this old crusty man has written most of the music and plays for movies. And he's the muse who does all these things. And he's the one that's like, I put forward the music and I put forward the message. And the kid's like, what message? He's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's not for you. And I thought that was interesting. And then there's a lot of things that alludes to. It's very occult heavy in the leanings. And when it gets to the end, he finds out where the girl is. She's under Silver Lake, quite literally, in a bunker with a billionaire and 2 other women. And he finds this other rich guy who's up on top, and they're living this modern lifestyle. They say, in 10,000 years when they're excavated, they'll be seen as the pharaohs, the new kings, the men of power. He says they go down there and they're stuck there until they ascend into their power. And there's a bunch of other crazy stuff involved, and it's kind of a very strange, trippy movie. But like the overall premise of that, like we hear these things that, and Lee made a point, like it's a lot of the same narrative getting pushed. So that tells you that either the facts are the same or the source of the story is the same.
That's that's the thing with algorithms now. Like if you're seeing something, it's because somebody wants you to see it. And then if you don't see something, somebody doesn't want you to see. Like I was amazed the other day. This is a good one, and I get to talk about myself, so that's good.
Nice.
I showed you guys, didn't I, the ratio on one of my tweets. Like I'll read it, because when I clicked on it, even I thought it was fucking wild. And this was around about the time where I really saw like proper stagnation in my Twitter, my Twitter reach, should we say. Where's it gone? I didn't know I was going to pull this up, but here we are. So I follow a guy that some of the listeners might know, Majid Noirs. He was again. He was actually the anti-counterterrorism sort of agent for the Labour Party during the Iraq War. He went to prison in Egypt because he was I think he was part of the Muslim Brotherhood, and he was essentially stationed in Egypt to overthrow the Egyptian government. Anyway, got caught. The Egyptian government were like, not going to have any of that, and he was thrown in an Egyptian jail, which was supposed to be until he either died or he was in far too long to want to come out anywhere. But he was Theresa May was our head of our Home Office. She got him out. He did a few years in a British cell, came out, was completely changed in his views because essentially the West had saved his life, and we now have this fantastic journalist and all around awesome guy. Anyway, he's been quite heavily censored, and I noticed that I'd been unfollowed from him. So I just did a quick tweet saying, look, if anybody follows Majid and you haven't seen his tweets, then you need to go and check, because this is like the 3rd time I've been unfollowed from him. And he's seen that, answered me, and then retweeted it. So that my original tweet has now had 920,000 impressions. So that's quite wild. That there's nearly a million impressions on that tweet.
Wowzers.
It only had 80 likes out of nearly a million impressions. It only got 80 likes, 23 retweets.
It's not possible.
And 4 comments. It is not possible. It is 100% impossible. Even down to the fact that it only had 4. So apparently it had almost a million. We'll say 920.
Just call it a million. Just call it a million.
Let's call it a million. They had 4,602 engagements, and I picked up 2 follows and 545 profile views from nearly a million engagements. That, my friends, is pure, unadulterated bullshit.
No, that's science, man. You got to trust the science.
As I said, so people might think people might think this is possible for me, but even I think it would be hard to meet a million people and all but 2 of them not to think I'm a cunt.
I mean, there's 3 people on this this conversation, and I wouldn't say that 2 of them don't think you're a cunt.
I'm looking forward to filling in the monetization form for this for light swear words.
Do you know what? I will have you know that that's the Old English word for purse or pocket. So I am merely speaking in my native tongue.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, I'm learning new languages myself. No, yeah, I mean that's things like that are crazy. When we had our podcast we were getting 2,000 unique listens a day, and then we went to 2, and then we went for 2 weeks where we didn't get 1, and we were like, all right,
then you got deleted.
Then we got deleted on every platform in like an hour.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know how like if I'd started doing what I was doing, but like before the hammer came down, the hammer of gods came down and everything, how far I could have pushed Musty Audio out.
Yeah. I don't know, but to the UFO thing and under the Silver Lake reference I was making, because again, it's kind of like algorithms. Like if you're building a social algorithm, and I agree with you to a psyop, like everything seems to be a psyop. It's like they keep putting out these little pieces of information that you have to really look hard to see. And I know that sounds schizophrenic, and it may be. You got to hear the code, right?
Yeah.
But it's like Jeremy Corbell did that an interview on Nerdist. He did 2 of them. One of them, he was talking about things that were happening at the Skinwalker Ranch, and he had brought up, one of the guys that talked about being possessed or whatever. And he's like, that sounds like demons. Is that demons? And then at the end of his Skinwalker interview with George Knapp, he's saying something, and then they blur out, or they mute the words, so you don't hear what they're saying or what Jeremy says. And then George says, no, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to reference that in this. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, I remember that.
I guarantee he said, well, you got to talk about it being compared to demons.
Yeah.
And whether it is or it isn't, it's a descriptive word that's clearly being used by people. And I think it's interesting that Tucker Carlson took the Star of Bethlehem religious overtone with it. It's interesting.
So what is a demon? We only know what a demon is when it comes to the stories we hear through religion. And
that's where the word comes from. So that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not a religious man at all, but I tell you something, over the last, I'd say half of my, I've had this chat.
5 years, over the last 5 years, I've become religion has creeped its way into me.
As it happens with every young altar boy.
There's just times when shit happens, and I always say this: people watching this, Lee, you've nearly got 100 people. You have had over 100 people watching. Keeps fluctuating between 108 and dropping into the 90. It's weird. It's awesome. YouTube. Hit that like, people. I guarantee that every single person that is watching this show right now, whether it be live or after, have had something they cannot explain happen in their life. Now, do you put that down to just coincidence? Do you put that down to deja vus? Do you put that down to weird science?
I think a lot of it's looking. I think maybe this stuff maybe it attracts to certain people, but I also believe that those people attract to each other as well. Like the
they do.
Let's just say again, being a conspiracy theorist has paid dividends over the last 48 months.
Yeah. Life-saving.
Yeah. There is, and if you, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is what happens when you radicalize. Maybe I am. Maybe misinformation has radicalized me. Let's go that far. And maybe it's radicalized the people that essentially gravitate to me and gravitate towards the content I make, and it's then that's that self-fulfilling revolving door of like strangers reaffirming my my biases.
Yeah, echo chamber.
Yeah. I don't believe so, but but there is definitely there is like a common theme.
Nice.
There is a common theme running amongst people, and some people, like, don't get me wrong, like some people do definitely lean on the crazy side of this stuff, but I would rather speak to a guy that tells me he's being abducted by aliens than I would speak to the guy that is absolutely convinced his vote is going to change at the ballot box. You know, is one of those two scenarios is fucking ridiculous to me, and it's not the lad getting whizzed up in a spaceship.
Thanks, Posner. Is that how you pronounce it, Posner?
Well done, Ollie. Well done. That's a tricky one, that as well.
Posner.
Magic-y in there and everything.
Email us, Posner. You know, if you've had many weird experiences, we want to get you on at some point.
As long as we with Uncle Posner.
Yeah, well,
or Priest Posner.
weird experiences. It has to be like paranormal, alien weird experiences, not just have us. You know, walked into this room one night and there was some weird people in that room. Thank you so
that's
much.
A personal story, Holly.
Yeah, never got that.
Look at him. Yeah.
That's when I got the grey in the beard.
Oh my God. Well, you know, like every good therapist, just block it out, Ollie. Pretend like it didn't happen.
Are you still on the alien UFO train, Dave? Because I know you met me through just looking into the whole UFOs and stuff like that. But do you think? I know you've seen UFOs, but what do you think it is?
I mean, it's a
You think it's not some? You think it's nuts and bolts?
I mean, I don't know, man. I've never really been on the UFO train. Like, I was doing it, searching for my own thing, and I got put onto it by David Paulides. And and believe it or not, anyone can talk to him. All you gotta do is email him. He'll get back to you eventually, or even Facebook message him. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of found my way to your channel and to some others, and I liked yours the best. That's just kind of how it went. I don't know, man. As far as nuts and bolts, maybe not. I mean, what? I'm going to go with Tucker Carlson on that. I think he errs in the right direction. We should also just, say we don't know. I don't know. I have my own beliefs and thoughts and theories, and that's fine. But I don't know, and no one does.
Lee, I got the clip. I've got the clip at the right bit for you now. Finally.
Yeah, just quickly before you play it, that's the other part of this is what if nobody knows? You know, what if there's no bodies? The idea of craft, which are like revolutionary, they are just humans, but that's also in amongst this completely paranormal happenings.
Well, I think you could go with that.
And that's the people that are trying to tell us that they've got some sort of handle on this. Like let's say people are getting abducted. Let's say people are getting abducted by these things. Let's say that there's there are things. There's something out there where when people come in contact with them, they are dying. Like Tucker brought up here. And the governments of the world have absolutely no idea what's going on. You know, that's terrifying. It's terrifying for two reasons. It's terrifying because we wouldn't know what was going on. And it's also terrifying that the people that are in charge are too arrogant to accept they don't know what's going on. And they would rather appear to know that they do.
But somebody must know what's going on.
Why?
Or have an inkling.
Why?
because it's really scary if they don't.
Yeah, no,
I don't think they do. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone does.
Does an let's say you've got a chicken, yeah, and every night a fox comes into the chicken coop and steals another chicken or another chick or runs off with a few eggs. Do you think in the morning there's a group of chickens get together and try and work out what it was that attacked them last night? No, they don't know. They just know that every night someone keeps coming and taking another fucking chicken.
They probably don't even notice the fucking chicken's missing. I mean, you've seen a chicken.
I feel like you just pissed all over my analogy there, Ollie. Thank you.
You know what's interesting is I was and he did, but he definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, right? Replace chicken with smartest animal you can fucking think of. Genius.
Yeah. So and for another one that maybe Ollie won't, and I'll probably do this poorly, but my son noticed something today when we were out shopping. Again, we're on holiday and we're in one of the stores, and it's a beachside town, and they had a missing persons bulletin board up. Shitload of missing people on it. And my son's looking at it, and I was like, yeah, those are missing people. He's like, huh? And he starts reading it, and he goes, most common age is 17. And I was like, what? And there's probably, I don't know, 19 missing people on the board. Like 17 of them, or no, I'm not going to say 17 because I have 17, but say like 16 of them are 17, or 15 of them were 17. I was like, that's interesting. You know, it makes me think, what else do they have in common? Like the chickens are obviously all chickens, you know, but are they Rhode Island Reds, or are they whatever other kind of chicken is out there? I don't really know anything about chickens, but I don't know. It's curious. It's curious, man.
Yeah, I'd like to. I know you've done it. You did it when well before me and Lee joined up on Alien Addicts, but on Masiodi, you've got a few shows with about the missing 411. I'd definitely like to dabble with that again.
Yeah,
because it's just really interesting. Very sad, but very interesting at the same time.
He's come across another pattern in urban areas of healthy young males with religious backgrounds, usually like when I mean athletic, I mean like physically fit, involved in something, above average intelligence. You know, he has certain characteristics, he plays into it, and they go missing. Sometimes when they're on the phone, sometimes when they're just at a party and they walk off for a moment, like, hey, I'm going to go walk over here and make a phone call. And they never come back, and they're found floating in water the wrong way, or they're found stripped naked on a mountaintop, or they're not found at all. It's very interesting.
And it's freaky as well.
Whole cluster groups, and it's always around rivers. It's around the water.
Beware of the water.
Can you say that now?
Yeah.
Beware the. Oh, maybe not.
That was a fucking stupid documentary.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Carry on. Sorry, Ollie.
Lexi, who's standing right there, who's a genius, one of our producers, gets his call from this guy who's a tenured Stanford medical school professor, and he wants to come on the show. Now, this guy has a couple patents, and so he's rich, and he's got tenure at one of the most prestigious schools in the world. So, like, he's not a flake. He comes on, and he's like, 11 years ago, the U.S. government reached out to me because I'm an expert on head injuries, on brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries, as a physician, and they had all these court cases from families of U.S. servicemen, over 100, who'd been killed by UFOs. And the Department of Defense was refusing to give them death benefits or medical benefits. And I'm like, and he's like, so they're in the courts. And I was like, there are over 100 servicemen killed by UFOs? Like, what? He's like, yeah. And there are court cases about it. I'm like, why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times? I don't know. But he goes, I'm involved in it. I'm one of the researchers. I'm the expert witness in these cases. Holy shit. What does that mean? And he's like, for example, UFOs appear to be attracted for whatever reason to nuclear energy. So at nuclear missile bases in the upper Midwest, for example, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, nuclear-powered submarines are all getting buzzed by these objects, including underwater. And in a number of cases, these things have landed on military bases, including famously in Germany, in West Germany in the 70s. And servicemen have approached them like, what is this thing? There's this like giant glowing thing on the base. And they approach and they get traumatic brain injury. Like they are rendered. Like, they get brain damage or they're killed. And he studied their brains. And they have, this is all totally real. This is the Department of Defense, dude. And they've all had this damage from some kind of powerful energy that we cannot identify. So then this guy's like, wow, he's just a scientist. He never believed in UFOs. He's like, this is real. I cannot believe this is real. This is like crazy. He should start to do research on it. He's still at Stanford.
That's, as Lee would say, wild.
Yeah. That's. Yeah, he's not getting paid for this. This is a subject of interest. I like how animated he is too.
Some people give Gary Nolan shit.
What's that?
I was just gonna say some people give Gary Nolan shit as well, but I think it was
Who's Gary Nolan? Why do I know his name, and why should I know? Like, what's?
Oh, Gary Nolan's massive in the UFO field now. That's who Tucker's referring to, Gary Nolan. But so many people give Gary Nolan shit now because they say that he's just doing the whole UFO circle jerk, as Cambion would call it. That's what he's doing. But at the end of the day, he's got a shitload. He's got a reputation to lose. Huge reputation.
Does he? Yeah. Sorry, I know who he is now. Yeah,
you've seen him.
He was on Lex Freeman not so long ago, actually, wasn't he?
That is who Tucker Carlson's talking about.
Yeah, right. I don't mind. I know the Cambion says about the circle jerk thing,
which there is definitely circle jerkers.
Yeah,
absolutely. And like again, and this isn't a shot at Stephen either, because I like Stephen, but I think himself and everybody that's doing
we're all circle jerks.
But if let's say you got the numbers for a thing or something broke and you got the Bob Lazar thing, or something happened, and that meant you could get your foot in the door with maybe publishing a book, and then you could go and do the UFO circuit. Every single person that clicks that go live button on YouTube would do it.
Yep.
If they had the opportunity, if they had the opportunity to jump on it, everyone would do it.
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
No, absolutely not. UFO people are crazy, man. You ever been to any of those conferences? Holy shit. No,
I really want.
I haven't.
If I want to hang out with a bunch of schizophrenics, I'll go hang out under a bridge like a normal person. I'm not going to pay an absorbent amount of fee to go hang out with them there. We're just straight up full of shit liars.
This is the thing, though. Like Peter Birdsall just said that sellouts, but it's not like the. I don't know at what point you're not about. At what point are you selling out or buying in? There's only so long if you want people to do things. There's only so long people will do things unpaid for, and then even if people are getting paid for them, there's only so. This is why I'll play devil's advocate for Stephen Greer here, because I do genuinely believe when he did the National Press Club thing that he was doing that for altruistic purposes, if not personal ego as well, because the guy's got an ego the size of a fucking large family planet. But at some point he's realized, well, I'm still interested in this, but I'm not doing anything, so I might as well make that money. I think it's kind of all right. I get why people do that.
I get it. It's you sometimes you can go a little bit too far, that's all. like that. Whatever happened to that?
Crazy thing with that is he didn't need that money. He didn't need those people's money.
Yeah.
He's a wealthy man. He was in Blink 182.
I
think
honestly
when the hand went up his ass, it was extremely well lubed, and he didn't realize it until later on.
Yeah, he was being played.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think DeLong got into it for all the right reasons.
I do too.
Hmm.
I do too.
But
Yeah.
Stephen Greer said that a few times, that said he's being used. But this is
Yeah.
it. You don't know in this field now who you can trust. Or the only thing you can actually go by is if you've met one of these people. And I know, Dave, you met Ray.
Yep.
And you put him onto Ray, and you said out that most of the people that you met at that UFO wherever you were at,
Yeah.
that's the only one that you really trust and resonated with.
Well, I mean, trust is strong, but I think he's being honest to it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I did. I met a lot of them, and he was the only one that I continued on with. But yeah, man, it the thing is, like, people keep calling it a field too. It's the field of study. We're a bunch of crazy people online talking about shit no one knows. That's really what we're doing. I mean, it's fun. It's interesting. We all have our own theories. But at the end of the day, man, we're not going to make any great revelations. You know, we're never going to see the end. We're not going to see through the pearly gates of whatever this is. You know, and I think Lee was asking earlier, what do you think's coming? And I side with the two things. It's either going to be something that there's nothing anyone could do about, and it would just ruin everyone's lives to know. Or there is nothing coming. It's already here. And there's some kind of rules.
It's already ruining lives.
Yeah, there's like some kind of rules of engagement. They can't tell you, but they can hint at it, and maybe you'll figure it out.
I can't help think that because I think there is something. I think there's something supernatural. I don't really want to use the word extraterrestrial because I don't that indicates like planetary travel that I'm not sure I buy planetary travel. But I think there's definitely there's a narrative being pushed, and it seems to be there seems to be a narrative of depression being pushed on people. It doesn't matter what you're into. If you're into politics, then you're constantly looking over your shoulder now in the next Cold War. You know, we are 10 minutes away from deciding it's time to start having kids hiding under school desks in nuclear drills again.
Because that works.
Because yeah, of course it does. Desks are strong, safe, and effective. But it's more so in the conspiracy field. What gets me is again bring up the Tartaria thing again. The fact that I think the UFO thing might be there to displace religion. There's something like this idea of the reset thing, of the Graham Hancock thing. I like Graham Hancock. Don't get me wrong. You can't buy into that without accepting a certain amount of nihilism, and I think that's dangerous. Like, because if when you've got people turn around and say, well, every 13,000 years there's there's like some sort of like massive cataclysm where the Earth shifts poles and we're sent back to the Stone Age, 90% of people die, and we have to rebuild civilization again. That it's always insinuated that, or maybe not insinuated, but kind of put on the side that's imminent, that this is something that's going to happen within our time. And I think that just makes people abandon all hope, and that's the worst thing. And I think for the powers that be, like the Klauses of the world, and the Davos lads and the World Economic Forum lads, if they can make people feel there's no future, then it's so fucking easy for them to build one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of truth in that. You know, I continue to stay after this because while I do have, you know, guess kind of a nihilistic outlook towards it, is that I do genuinely believe no one's going to get it. My ego's just big enough to think that I might be the one guy to figure out that extra little bit that'll give me a unique, you know, which I know is ridiculous. But at the same time, I kind of got to, man. I can't not. It, you know, is what it is. You know, I went to try and explain and understand things about my life and things I've encountered. And the hole just keeps getting deeper and everything like not only do I not know what the answers are, I don't even know that I'm asking the right questions. You know?
I think that's that for me is the reason why we have why we have sexual tension, why we have so much control over speech right now and so much control out with algorithms and doing things like this. You know, you can't speak freely because you don't want to destroy your channel. You've always got that. So even if you know how to stay in the lines, because I think we stay in the lines reasonably well while trying to get a point across, but that does mean that there is a certain amount of mental bandwidth that's taken up, knowing you need to keep an eye on the white lines while you're talking. If you were to strip those away now, we have the technology to be just this gigantic organic supercomputer. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if this, like, if no one comes up with an answer from this show, but one person can say something interesting, and then someone's in the chat picks up on that interesting thing, and then they're doing their own show, and then they speak to 6 more people about the same thing, and they don't come up with an answer, but there's another interesting thing comes out of that, and before you know it, we've crunched a load of things without even knowing it. The hive mind is fucking fixed something. You see it all the time on things like 4chan. That's why things like 4chan are fucking demonized, because you've got a collective of people. Fair enough, most of the time just putting crazy Chris Benoit memes out there, but now and again they fucking break a subject, and you see it. That's why the mainstream media is so terrified by an open Twitter platform.
Yeah.
It's because it makes news redundant, because a headline comes out, details get put out, and that is dissected by the masses. And within an hour, you have maybe not the whole story, but you have a much better idea of what it was if you just hung around waiting for that, like for the hourly news bulletin on it.
That's why I continue to investigate and watch other channels and go to those different, you know, whether it's a paranormal convention or a UFO one, within reason. Just because I figure there's some tidbit that someone else has seen that I can apply into what I think, or it has happened more than once. What I believe was going on totally gets shattered by, you know, a piece of actual evidence or a very credible story.
I mean, you hear from Elon that, you know, certain things were held back over the last few years on Twitter, yeah? But you never... I wonder if there's anything UFO related is held back on Twitter, or if that is just literally UFO Twitter now. I mean, who'd have thought UFO Twitter would even be a thing? But now every talks you can't go on a UFO show without somebody mentioning UFO Twitter.
Did that catch you off guard with Weaponized as well? When Corbell was referring to UFO Twitter, that really stuck out to me as well. I thought, wow, that's a hive of people, like an unmanned entity.
But that's well before Elon. That's before Elon.
Oh yeah.
And that was pushed. UFO Twitter it exploded very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like it's supposed to.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well,
Maybe,
again,
man.
if you're seeing something, then somebody wants you to see it.
You know, I've always said that about the news, is if you feel a certain way about anything that's put out by any major outlet, whatever emotion you're feeling is exactly what they wanted you to feel.
That's always stuck with me when you said that, and it's I genuinely think like that might have it might have changed me slightly. I know if I get less angry online now. I don't argue with people online. I used to argue. I didn't make a point of like being like the all day arguing, but if someone would come at me with something, I would argue back. Now I realized there is no point. There's no point in investing emotion into social media.
Yeah.
You use it as a tool, but like if you're chopping wood and you miss the piece of wood with the axe, you don't shout the axe.
Correct.
Just use it as a tool.
Yeah, man, it's the way to view a lot of those things and interactions with social media and online. That's definitely part of it. Even social media, the algorithm seems to cultivate certain emotions and narratives. That's what it puts in the For You. It's what it pushes you in the recommended, and it's what gets highlighted. It's not just stories anymore. It's the algorithm pushing viewpoints that are acceptable, whether that be about a UFO topic or politics or whatever. I mean, I can see that right now with what's going on in the banking, all these different banks, and what people are talking about. They're talking about all the wrong things. It's going to be interesting. Yeah.
That feels like a good place to pull the plug on this, lads.
Doom and gloom.
Next week.
I don't know what we're going to do next week. I'm going to keep my eyes open. Like today, I mean, this show came out of the blue. I didn't realize Tucker had done that interview until this morning. I'm sure no matter what it is, it's well going to be worth 1 hour and 42 minutes of your time. Ollie, I tried to shill the wares at the beginning of the podcast.
Oh, and I was making a brew.
Yeah, would you like to shill our wares now before we leave?
Yeah, I've been doing some work today for Lee.
For us.
Well, yeah, but for you, because you always say,
because I fucking deserve it.
You always say, "Where's my merch? Where's my merch?" Well, there you go. There's your merch. There's your wild merch. And funnily enough, Lee,
big fan.
You've avoided saying the word wild on this show.
I have. Yeah, I just need to try and think of another buzzword now so I can get more merch.
So it is in the description.
Those water bottles look fucking cool, man.
They're nice.
I need a water bottle. I need a water bottle anyway.
Yeah. This 10% off. Use the code. It's in the description. The code. What was the code, Lee?
All in capitals. The code all in capitals. Wild Show. Or you can just click the button at the top of the page, which will automatically add the code to your order.
There you go. There's your. Yep. Go get a t-shirt. It's not only does it support Lee, it supports Alien Addict also.
Yeah, and it stops you looking like a chump.
We need to rock some merch ourselves, Lee.
We do. I thought that I'm gonna order some this week. I'm gonna order one of those water bottles. Maybe.
Yeah. If there's some like whiskey glasses, maybe a wine glass, wild, yeah.
Shot glasses.
No.
Posner's going to send you an email that will take you 15 minutes to read.
Nice. Well,
I think it's going to take Ollie a lot longer than 15 minutes.
I was just going to say, I think by email, do you mean voice note?
He doesn't know. He doesn't. Posner, I am the most dyslexic man you'll probably ever meet. I will read this with the help of Google tomorrow while I'm on my break at work. Get that sent over, my lad or lady, and I will We will.
Ollie's so dyslexic he sees bacon and smells cheese.
How did you know that? I thought it was just me.
I'm allowed to take the first out of it. I'm dyslexic.
If you can't take the mick out of yourself.
Oh, damn it.
I word it nicer.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody, for doing the stuff. Dave has just disappeared. We have been Musty Audio. You have been a mid to acceptable audience. Bye-bye.